From a shelter of tangled branches and stone, a clan of great monkeys emerged. Their bodies were long-limbed and powerful, covered in dark, coarse hair. Their eyes, deep-set, gleaming, carried something more than instinct, yet not quite the reasoning minds of the future. They were not beasts of the trees anymore, and not yet humans. They lived between worlds, every day a test of survival. At the edge of the shelter crouched Taru, a young male with broad shoulders and quick, restless eyes. He sniffed the air, catching the musk of antelope herds carried on the wind. Hunger twisted his belly. Behind him, the others stirred. Orna, the elder female whose memory was sharp as claws. Kala, fierce and strong, always guarding the youngest. And Drew, Taru's companion, nimble as a shadow, reckless in his leaps. The monkeys spoke not with words, but with hoots, screeches, and gestures. A click of teeth meant danger. A lifted hand meant food. A deep, rolling growl meant caution. That morning, the signal was clear. Hunger pressed upon them all. The land was vast but merciless. Great predators ruled the grasses, saber-toothed cats, lions, hyenas larger than wolves. To stray alone was to die. Together, they moved, knuckle-walking toward the river. Bare feet and hands pressed into the soil, leaving faint prints in the mud. At the riverbank, Taru darted forward, arms plunging into the shallows. With a sudden splash, he pulled a wriggling fish from the water. The others hooted approval, crowding close. It was small, barely enough for one, but it was something. Further along, they dug for roots, chewing them raw, their jaws working noisily. The youngest, a child with bright eyes and clumsy steps, gnawed a root with delighted squeals. Even in a brutal world, joy flickered. Then came the cry of a leopard, sharp and echoing from the trees. Instantly, the clan froze. Orna barked sharply, gathering the little ones. Taru seized a heavy stone, lips pulled back in a snarl. The sound faded, leaving only silence, but the lesson was clear. Danger was never far. By midday, they returned to their shelter with scraps of food. They ate quickly, raw and anxious. No fire yet softened their meal. Only the warmth of each other's bodies kept the dark at bay. As night fell, Orna began a low rhythmic hum. Others joined, their voices rough and primal, echoing like distant drums. It was not yet song, but it carried meaning. We are alive. We are together. Above them, the stars burned cold. Taru gazed upward, chest rising and falling. Something stirred within, a question he could not shape. Why did the lights shine so far away? Why did he feel more than hunger, more than fear? The answer lay in a future beyond his grasp. Yet in that silent wondering, the spark of tomorrow flickered. Morning brought hunger sharper than claws. Roots were not enough. The young whimpered. Meat was needed. Taru and Drew led the way onto the plains, carrying stones chipped against river rocks. Crude, but sharp enough to cut. Kala guarded the rear, her keen eyes scanning the tall grass. The wind carried the smell of antelope. A herd grazed near the acacia trees, legs tense, ears twitching. Taru's pulse quickened. But how could clumsy, earthbound monkeys bring one down? Not by claws, not by fangs, by something else, strategy. With low hoots and hand signals, Taru and Drew spread wide. At Taru's cry, they burst from the grass, shrieking, throwing stones. The herd thundered in panic. Dust swirled. One antelope stumbled, struck by Drew's rock. The monkeys lunged, surrounding it, pummeling it with stones. Taru leapt onto its neck, smashing its skull. Silence. Then an eruption of hoots and howls. Victory! Blood and meat! They tore with stones, ripped with teeth, hot flesh filling their mouths. Hunger loosened its grip, but the scent of blood carried far. From the ridge came the laughter of hyenas. Yellow eyes gleamed in the dusk. The clan froze, clutching scraps. Kala shrieked defiance, teeth bared. Taru roared, a guttural thunder. For a heartbeat, the hyenas hesitated. Then they surged. The clan fled, carrying only scraps. Hyenas swarmed the carcass, cackling into the night. That evening, as the clan gnawed what little remained, Orna's low hoot carried meaning. Meat feeds, but it also calls death. The lesson sank deep. To survive, they needed more than strength. They needed cunning. The rains came with fury. Thunder cracked the sky. The monkeys huddled in stone shelters, soaked, shivering. Then lightning struck a tree. Flames erupted, roaring and crackling. The clan shrieked in terror. Fire was alive, a beast of heat and light. Predators fled its glow. But Taru did not flee. His wide eyes reflected the flames. Awe, not fear. When the storm ended, embers still smoldered. Taru, heart racing, took a branch and dragged a spark back to the shelter. The others gathered close, hooting nervously. The fire smoked and crackled. They fed it dry grass. It grew. For the first time, meat was roasted. The smell rose, rich and strange. They tasted it, soft, warm, easier to chew. They laughed, bellies full, basking in heat. But fire was both child and god. Too little care, it died. Too much, it burned. Kala guarded it, eyes sharp, always feeding it. Predators no longer dared approach the glow. For the first time, the monkeys slept without terror pressing in. Around the flames, Orna began to gesture, arms sweeping, body swaying. She mimed the antelope's fall, the hyena's snarl, the hunt's triumph. The others joined, hooting in rhythm. Shadows danced on stone walls, alive with story. Fire had given warmth, safety, and food. But more than that, it had given them imagination. And imagination was the first step toward the land was changing. More. Rivers shrank, herds wandered far. Hunger drove the monkeys from their familiar ground. Orna grumbled caution, but Taru felt the pull of the horizon. Beyond the hills must be rivers, game, new life. With Drew and Kala, he set out. The journey was brutal. Rocks cut their feet. The sun burned their backs. But they pressed on. Curiosity urged them. They saw beasts unknown, elephants with tusks like crescent moons, giant birds with killing claws, monkeys in trees who screamed and fled. Danger lurked everywhere, yet wonder filled them. At the ridge's crest, they beheld a vast plain, rivers gleaming silver under the sun. Taru's chest swelled. This was discovery. But the plain was not empty. Across the river, another clan appeared. Faces like theirs, yet strange. They carried stones, just as Taru's clan did. Eyes met across the water, curious, wary, sharp. No attack came, yet the moment burned in memory. They were not alone. Others hunted, fought, dreamed. The unknown was both promise and threat, and it called louder each day. Seasons passed. The clan grew, and so did their sorrow. A child taken by leopard. Orna's mate gone to sickness. The clan mourned, wailing, stroking the lifeless body. Breath gone. They could not understand why. Yet from grief came memory. They began to imitate the lost, mimicking their calls and gestures. The dead lived on, not in flesh, but in remembrance. Taru and Kala, once companions, now shared more. They guarded, fed, raised young together. Love, fragile and fierce, bloomed among them. Sounds changed too. Not just hoots, but patterns with meaning. A bark for water, a hiss for danger, a hum for safe. Language sprouted like shoots after rain. Tools sharpened, stones chipped finer, bones dug earth, sticks hardened in fire-pierced prey. The land itself was being reshaped by monkey hands. At night, Orna scratched lines into dirt, shapes of animals, rivers, hunts. The young copied her, laughing, learning. The first symbols were being born. They were not only surviving, they were beginning to live. The stars blazed above the plains. Around the fire, the monkeys gathered. Orna's voice rose in rhythm, telling the story of lion and antelope. Restless Drew wandered from the fire, seeking glory. He found prey, but also a lioness. Her roar split the night. Death loomed until the clan arrived, waving fire, screaming, driving her back. Together they saved him. Together they killed the antelope. That night, roasted meat filled their bellies. Orna mimed the lioness's leap, the clan's rescue, the roar of fire. The others echoed, voices rising in chant. For the first time, memory became story. Story became echo. They felt it in their bones. What they did tonight would live beyond tomorrow. The stars above burned silently, watching. From beasts of fur and fawn, the monkeys had taken another step, toward the beings that would one day be human.